Well, we begin today with the latest on the coronavirus outbreak. There are 4 new cases in Canada to tell you about, and that brings the total number to 24. Concerns about the spread of the virus and the possible quarantine measures are sending many Canadians rushing to stores. In fact, shelves in pharmacies and big box stores are being emptied of basics as people prepare for a possible quarantine situation in their homes. We're going to have a bit more on that in a moment. But first, we want to bring you the latest on those 4 most recent cases, which officials say are travel related. And to that, let's bring in Jacqueline Hansen. Right now, she's at Toronto's Pearson Airport following the latest for us this morning. So Jacqueline, good morning to you. What do we know about these new cases?
Well, of the 4 new cases, one includes a man in his 40s, and he traveled from Iran here to Toronto. Now, when he arrived here at Toronto Pearson Airport, he didn't have any symptoms. However, his wife did, and that was the case we were talking about over the weekend. The first case in York Region to be reported testing positive. It was a woman in her 30s, so now her husband has also tested positive. They were traveling from Iran with their toddler, but you can see with this case, these are people who have had close contact. So officials are trying to find if anyone else had close contact, particularly with the wife who was showing symptoms during her travels from Iran, particularly a flight from Copenhagen. The Air Canada flight from Copenhagen to Toronto is what officials are looking for, as well as their other connections prior to that, and a GO bus that they took from Toronto's airport here. And so officials trying to find people who had close contact with those individuals, but stressing that community transmission is not an issue at this point. The other cases we know of now are also all related to travel. A woman in her 70s who traveled to Egypt, a man in his 50s, and another in his 60s who traveled to Iran separately. But Michael, officials stressing that risk to Canadians remains low because there is not a threat of community transmission at this point.
Not a danger of community transmission, as you say, but with these 4 latest cases, we now have 24 in this country. 3 of those we know have since been cleared, but all of Canada's cases have been linked in some way to travel. So what about risks to Canadians abroad and who are traveling or who may be traveling?
Well, Michael, it really depends on where they're traveling to. So the Public Health Agency of Canada has some travel advisories on the Government of Canada website, travel.gc.ca. So check that out if you're planning on doing any traveling. But there's only some particular travel advisories that are saying to avoid non-essential travel to particular places such as China, Iran, Northern Italy, and some parts of South Korea. Now, here at Canada's busiest airport, the airport authority tells me that they have increased the stations for hand sanitizers at the arrivals area, which is where we are right now. I don't see any hand sanitizer stations out in this area where people would be receiving someone coming from abroad, but perhaps it's behind that sliding door where they've increased those stations. They also said that they're doing more frequent cleaning of the arrivals area, including the kiosks and the bathrooms, and high traffic areas are also being disinfected as well. Air Canada says that it has procedures in place if someone on a flight is found to have tested positive, including a deep cleaning of the aircraft. So if we're thinking about that Air Canada flight that the woman who tested positive was on, Air Canada would be on top of that as well. But many Canadians, Michael, this is it's March now, leading into March break, so thinking about perhaps international travel. But as I said, checking that travel.gc.ca for any of the latest travel advisories and just trying to stay healthy, washing your hands more, touching your face less, Michael.
Okay, Jacqueline, thank you. Our Jacqueline Hansen at Toronto's Pearson International Airport.